Happy Monday, guys. Hope you're having a great start to your week. We are back this week for Sunday school. We are on Unit 16, Session 2. Unit 16, Session 2. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you a heads up for this Sunday. Some of you may already know we have the ski trip this Sunday. So, your time to teach will be cut in half, essentially. We're really probably only going to run Sunday school um, at least for the students that are skiing, for about 30 minutes. So 9:45, I'll ask you to dismiss the kids that go skiing. For the remainder, you can continue to teach, but this may just bear in mind this may include a large chunk of your kids. But still want to provide this video for you this week. Want you to prepare. Just know that your time may be cut short, or halfway through, you may have several of your kids walk out. So do that with what you will. Prepare as you will with that. But we're talking about Daniel today, who's a really cool character. I think sometimes we forget about him because he's later in the Old Testament, and sometimes we kind of check out after King David and King Solomon. But this is a extremely important era in Israel's history. As their backs are clearly up against the wall, they're in captivity. But we see the promises of God yet still here in the book of Daniel. And Daniel also provides a bit of a narrative to his character as well. Not only here in Daniel chapter 1, but also we get the story of Daniel in the lion's den. We see how God blessed Daniel with gifts and abilities that he used to not only advise the king of the foreign nation, but also how he used that gift to glorify God. And so today we're talking about God's reward for the faithful. God's reward for the faithful. That's the title of your lesson. We are covering Daniel 1, verses 8 through 21 today, okay? And so we're going to be introduced to Daniel and who he is. So if you look at verse 8, you see that basically the people had been allotted a certain portion of food and wine to have each day. And Daniel, some of these were foods that God had labeled unclean for his people to eat and partake. Later on, hundreds of years later in the book of Acts, we see that God has made all food clean so we can eat pork. Hallelujah. We get barbecue, bacon, ham, all that stuff from that. That is awesome. But at that time, it was wrong. And so Daniel was correct in not eating the king's food. As it says in verse 8, Daniel determined that he would not defile himself with the king's food or with the wine he drank. So he asked permission from the chief eunuch not to defile himself. And so you see here, Daniel makes a choice to be faithful to God in this situation. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't just, I'm going to be faithful during this hard time. It was literally going to cost him food, right? It was going to cost him, he still ate, but he wasn't going to be able to eat well. And that leads us to our next point, the test to remain faithful to God, the test to remain faithful to God. So Daniel, he's like, I'm not going to take the king's food, but he's still got to eat. He's going to starve if he doesn't. So what he asks is, he says, can you bring us just a bunch of vegetables? And they survived off vegetables for a long period of time. Basically, he convinced one of the guards. He says, look, I don't want to defile myself. Give this to somebody else. Could I just have some vegetables to eat? Him and several other men. And they said yes. And so Daniel lived off vegetables for not only 10 days, which was the time that there was the test of okay, after 10 days, we're going to see who looks stronger, right? Because he was saying, if you guys start looking weak, then the king's going to realize you're not eating the food, and, you're going to get kicked out. Maybe you'll get killed. But just on vegetables, so really not a lot of protein in their diet, they looked strong, and they appeared to be even stronger than those around them. So God, and that was God's blessing. You need meat, you need protein or eggs or something to help you remain strong, right? If you do a vegetable diet, that's actually where we get the Daniel diet or the Daniel fast. Have you ever heard about that? It's just when you just eat vegetables. And for me, I would rather just go hungry, right? So no, but I would probably give in eventually. But I really don't like to eat a ton of vegetables, so I would have not been in on that. I guess if it was to prove my faithfulness to God, I would, but that would not have been easy for me. right? And I'm sure it wasn't easy for them, but that was how they remained faithful to God, and God blessed that. He gave them strength and nourishment through all those things. And then finally, in verses 17 through 21, you see the reward for being faithful to God. The reward for being faithful to God. Essentially, what happens is all these men that went on this, what we would call the Daniel diet or this Daniel fast, were stronger and more knowledgeable than the other men. And so, what that enabled was for them to have good positions. Daniel became a sort of advisor. So, he was thriving in this period of exile, and he would use his abilities, he would use his giftings where God had placed him to glorify God in a foreign nation. Um, and so, really cool story of how to be faithful to God in difficult scenarios and difficult situations. So, I hope that helps you as you teach this week. Thank you guys for your flexibility, always being ready to roll with what we have going. Um, I really appreciate and love you guys. So, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later. All right.